We interrupt your regularly scheduled program to bring you another episode of We Can Help with Dave and Woody, already in progress.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, well, it's about time you pushed the button. But in a nutshell, that's why they chose the colors basically orange and white, red and white for towers.
Um,
Around.
the radio towers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back in my day, you had to you hand painted the towers. Well, you
They
still do.
they use drones.
Yeah, I wish. No, they actually wear a painted glove and they just go up the tower with a 5-gallon bucket and they dip their hand in the bucket and wipe the tower. I'm telling the truth, buddy. I'm not lying this time.
Did you see where that one guy? You never know that there's a guy. I don't know if it's a meme or something I've seen before, but he changes the light bulb in the like a cell tower, but it's tall. It must be taller than a cell tower, and he gets like $25,000 just to do that, just to climb the thing and change the light bulb.
It's crazy. I used to, when I worked in Orlando as a field engineer for a paging company, now that I just dated myself, there was a radio tower out there near Christmas, Florida.
Yeah,
And that's where all the TV stations were. And those towers were 1,500 feet high because they had, and so it was big enough that it had an elevator in the middle, a two-man elevator in the middle of the tower. And you'd have to ride this thing up. My equipment was at the 500-foot level. And I was not, as you know, I'm not a fan of heights, but I signed up for the job, and this was one of the places I would have to go because most of the time my equipment was on the ground. But because this tower was so massive and we could put our equipment up high, you would put it up high because then you had less line to run, less signal
you're saying
loss.
your equipment, the technical equipment, not like your wrenches and hammers were stored up.
No. The transmitters and so forth were up at the
You got a
500.
Phillips head? No, that's
Yeah.
up to the 500
Well,
foot level.
this is before regulation, so you'd get up with your tool, and it was that see-through grating, like when you walk down the streets of New York, where the air comes up from
Yeah,
the below
yeah.
ground, that kind of grating, and you're standing on that, looking straight down 500 feet. And if you dropped a screwdriver or something, this is before you had to have them all tied off and stuff. You could, go through someone's car roof by the time, yeah, by the time it got to the ground. But so you'd be careful up there. But the owner of that tower, I had to call him for something. Something was wrong with the elevator. Or I forget why I was touching base with him. He goes, "Oh, um, if you want, I'll take you up to the 1,200-foot platform." Or 1,400-foot platform, and you can climb the last, I don't know, 20 feet of tower because the elevator couldn't go that high. He goes, you can then sit with your legs around the beacon at the top of the tower. And he goes, you will be the highest thing in Orange County, Florida at that point. I said, yeah, and you're going to need a crowbar to pry my legs off that off that beacon at the top of the tower. There's no way I'm going up there.
I thought you was going to say you have to wiggle the switch. That's the problem with it.
Yeah. Well, when I worked for radio stations, I had to pay someone to go up and change light bulbs on the towers.
They have the
Now
guy
they do
that changes
strobe.
pants on the way down.
Now we do strobes and LEDs and things of that, and much more. They last much longer before you have to change them. So there's
Yeah,
my tower story for you.
I don't. Hey, we're back.
Oh, that's right.
We're
We
back
are.
from Christmas. That's
And New Year's.
and New Year's. Yes, but the tower. Yeah, I don't have any. No.
Yeah, I have no desire to climb towers. Luckily, there was a staircase. You had to climb a staircase up to about 70 feet to get onto the elevator of the tower. And I had one other site like that, and I had to climb a ladder to get up to that one. And that was not fun.
I can't remember who told me this, but just always when you're on buildings, when you're on a site like that, just keep in mind this was built low bid. Um,
That's and it's being held up by a couple wires,
some clothes hanger wires. Yeah,
Yeah, it's basically balancing on a point in the ground, and the wires
yeah.
are just keeping it off.
And the wind Yeah, no,
Oh, I hated going up in that thing. And I guess one time, and in Florida, the storms would come through so quick. You'd be looking
you
off
could
on the
be up there.
horizon.
Yeah,
Yep.
2 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like,
You'd see one rolling towards you and like, where's the elevator? You'd be calling the elevator to get up to because it was a long ride. It was a slow, long ride up the tower. So,
my buddy Bill, Bill Gilbert. It doesn't really matter, but we had a landscape company. That's how I paid for my college. We started a little landscape business, and we were in the tree business for a very short amount of time. We didn't have any insurance, and I remember we got this job, and it was like a two. It must have been at least 2 stories, but it was a fourplex. So it had old 1950s fourplex, and it had 2 stories. But there were these giant oaks in Orlando that were the branches were hanging over the top of it. And so the guy goes, "Can you get those down for me? Because they're a storm hazard. They break off and hit." I'm like, "Yeah, no, we can do that." So we went and got one of those bucket trucks, and I'm like, "This is the part of the thing that was cool about the business was we got to rent stuff like tractors and
I was to say, you could rent a bucket truck, huh?
yeah, and it was probably one of the old ones from utility that someone picked up on surplus or whatever." So I get up in the bucket. I'm like, "This is so cool!" And I start to hit the lever, and the first, they had like a boom, then it would extend, and it would go up a little
Right.
higher. And I think I made it to the first level, and I'm like, no, get me out of this thing," because it just didn't get tall enough. And then once you realize there's nothing underneath you,
Yeah. And the bucket sways back and
that
forth
was
on top
horrible.
of it.
So I said, "We're out of the." That was the first
Did
notion.
you finish the job?
I think we hired a sub and took a loss on it. I think we said, "No, we're not doing this." And but the one that got us out of the business permanently was we had this guy that had a home, a residential home, and on his side yard was a major road. Okay, and there was a power line that went down the setback, and then there was the garage. So you had the garage, a side yard, power line, and a major road. Well, there was a giant silver, I think they called it a silver or silk oak, right in between the house and the power line. Now we had gotten pretty savvy. We could call utilities
Mm,
weeks ahead and say, "Listen, we're going to be taking this tree down, and part of the branches are over your power lines. Can you come out and remove those so we don't get
yeah.
mixed in that?" And they wanted you to do that since
Right.
some contractor screwed it up. Well, the homeowner didn't know that. They could have done that. So we charged them for that, and we got that done for free. But then we had to drop this 40.
Listen up, ex-customers of Dave Theus. I
Well, I
think
don't do
you,
that
you
business
can come
anymore.
back. You can come back and get them for that fraudulent billing.
So we had to drop this 40-foot stump left over. And I remember we tied it off with ropes. We had gotten pretty good at cutting the big, the thing you cut out first to
The
get
wedge.
the
Yeah.
wedge. And I'm on the rope. Everything's working very well.
You got it
And
tied around you.
no, not around me. And so I'm far enough away, nothing's going to hit me. And I've got just enough tension on it. And I look back at Bill and I said, "Okay, go." Well, we're now at the point of no return, and the
Right.
rope broke.
Oh.
And so as the rope broke, the momentum of the tree, it started to sway. And he looked at me like, "What are you doing?"
Our life is over.
So I'm like, "I don't know. I hope you got that wedge right." And so luckily it rocked back on the piece of wood he hadn't cut yet. And then I
Right.
was able to grab a very, very short piece of the rope and get enough of it coming my way, and then outrun it so it didn't hit me on the back on the way down. And this, boom, it landed
Yeah.
just where we wanted it to land. And both of us simultaneously looked at each other and went, "We're out of the tree business."
And that was nowadays it's at least a little bit more regulated. But in that same vein, it is hard to afford a legitimate tree cutting service.
Well, there's a good reason.
Yeah, because they carry so much insurance and there's so much, in terms of tools and protective
we'd have
gear,
put that
PPE gear and all that.
we would have taken that guy's 2-car garage out. That would have been
and the cars in it.
that'd have been $150,000 improvement. That we'd have been like, "Hey,
Hey, sorry. Good luck getting it out of two
I
college
think it'd have
kids
been like
without any
the tools were
insurance.
getting out of here. I don't know what happened."
Someone
Yeah.
else did that.
No, it was
I've
a
been
lesson
running.
learned.
It's funny because I've been running around on my roof this week. Uh,
Like exercise or
well, yeah, yeah. Well, it's turned out to be exercise. I've changed my opinion concerning squirrels in the past week. I used to think, oh, they're cute, they're nice. They are
squirrels?
terrors.
I thought you said swirls. I was like,
Oh, oh, squirrels. Squirrels too. Come on.
so
What do they think they are?
what do you mean? They wreck stuff or they're
Yeah, well, so a couple months ago, I heard my son's complain that he says, sounds like the squirrels are in the house. So I went up in the attic and I'm looking around, there's nothing up there. And then I'm like, oh, we have this section where two gutters from two different dormers kind of overlap.
yeah.
And I saw the squirrel there. So I'm like, oh, he's just living in one of those gutters when um when summer ends and they're done having kids, I'll go up there and clean the gutters out and all that kind of good stuff. So so I go up there a couple of weeks ago, and it's hard to explain for those for anybody, but basically, the dormer's like a letter A,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
the eaves wrap back a foot or two at the
Right.
bottom of the A. Well, it's that section that's right up, where they loop back. There's a little, I don't know,
You call it
45-degree angle.
parapet? Is it parapet?
No, it's just the eave, right? It's decorative. But what happens is it creates like a little 45-degree wedge in your eaves.
Yeah,
And
little hiding spot.
the squirrels got in there, chewed through the asphalt shingling and made a home in there. So
Hmm.
I'm like, all right. The reason I was up there, I was blowing the leaves off the roof because it was the end of the fall. I was getting the roof cleaned off before I cleaned the yard up. And so I just took the air blower and I stuck it in the hole and I turned it up on high. I'm like, well, if anybody's in there, they're coming out, kind of thing. So I get down the ladder and I go back up there. And luckily, I had some metal flashing
Right.
in the garage from some of the work I do. And so I took the metal aluminum flashing, and it was kind of in a precarious place on the roof. So it was tough to nail and whatever. So I just kind of precariously put the metal over it. And a few days later, I don't remember the turn of. Oh, my son was home for a Christmas vacation a couple weeks ago. He goes, "Man, those squirrels are back." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" I covered up the hole with aluminum flashing. Well, I go out the front door below that area, and the metal flashing's on the ground.
Hmm.
So I'm like, "Oh my God, this
The
little."
hell you say?
Yes, they had torn the metal flashing pieces of it off because I had put a couple up there. So so I go back up on the roof and I put even more. This time I spent the time to do it right. I really put a good amount of flashing down, bent it in, made sure I had it, good over the hole and everything. And then, so we're in the process of getting the house ready to be. We have section. Most of the house is brick, but there's sections of the dormers and stuff that have siding on it. So we're getting ready to have it resided and then painted. And so I'm up there getting rid of the old satellite dish and stuff from days of yore.
Yeah.
And the wind blows, and I hear the metal shake on that section because the satellite dish is near that section. I'm like, oh, maybe that's what took the metal off. The wind blew, and it's just in that kind of weird
Right,
area.
right.
And so the metal moves again. And I look over, and a freaking squirrel head pokes out of the middle from the inside. So that little guy not only got past the flashing, but was getting in and out. So
Not
I
on my
were
watch.
yeah,
No, sir.
exactly. Oh, I was pissed. So I
They're ingenious little fellas.
oh my God.
Industrious.
Yeah, so I so again I get more flashing, and he jumps out eventually. So I'm like, okay, well, he's out. I'm taking advantage of this. And I go to town. I put a whole bunch of new flashing on there, and I do everything I can to do that. And the next day I'm like, well, you know what? I have to go up and finish where the satellite dish, the screws were in. I didn't have any silicon for it. So I'm like, I'll go
Right.
up there and put silicon on, and I'll check the hole again just to make sure. And oh, God, the hole is back. And they
Wow.
chewed through the aluminum flashing. They didn't just push it out of the way. He ate the aluminum flashing.
Those squirrels were raised by wolves.
Yeah, insane. So I've had it at this point, and I just got like an hour before I have to do something else, and luckily I had some 1/8 inch steel plate in my garage. So I took a quick couple measure. Meanwhile, I'm walking up and down a roof. It's not exactly the safest thing, right?
Right.
It's a pretty good bit 60/20 roof pitch or whatever you call that. It's a pretty healthy pitch and, climbing a ladder and all this stuff. So I quickly saw up and I actually been starting to weld a little bit. So I welded some sheet steel together in the form of this area. And I
Yeah.
went up and screwed that in. I'm like, I told my wife, if squirrel gets through that, man, we got big problems because it is covered. Well, I must have pissed the squirrel off at this point because now it's gone around. So I don't know how to tell a story in the right fashion.
It's going
So,
around it and open another cavity or something.
well, there's a number of places where this occurs where we have the
Yeah.
angle. So a couple weeks prior, I went up and filled all the little gaps with that spray foam insulation
Yeah.
because they hadn't touched that. So I figured, okay, they don't like this stuff, so I'll use that. And I also sprayed, you can buy peppermint oil spray, which is supposed to annoy them. So I did it on 5 other locations around the house, just to make sure. I said, if he doesn't get in here, he can't get in anywhere else, or he won't start anywhere else. So I go to bed that night, and I come down in the morning. I look out, and there's pieces of spray foam all over my yard. I found out she went to every single place and tore out the foam and any flashing I'd put in these other 5 locations and threw it all down on the ground and was sitting up on the roof laughing at me.
I was
when
going to
I
say,
came out.
was it sitting back in a chaise lounge laughing or
Yes.
something?
Yes, that little bastard was
Sitting
up there.
with a Mai Tai going, no,
Oh,
no. You don't know who you're messing with, Woody.
so I give up at this point. I'm like, I
Well,
can't.
here's what you do to fix this. And I love the little guys, but you need to, instead of doing all that, you need to paint yellow lines like a roadway on your roof.
Oh,
Because they can't navigate a road crossing to save them. They only know where they're going. They don't know how to get, they only know how to go back. They don't know how to go away.
They get halfway, stop, and then go back to same side.
So you need to forget all that stuff and just paint road crossings on where you don't want them to go, and then they'll stop.
Oh, that would be awesome if it was just that simple. Yeah. So, needless to say, I called.
I want to hear your neighbors though when you're up there with the yellow stripes. Going, yeah, Bob, this is a definite fix. This is the way we're going to do this.
This is going to get them this time.
But no crossing, like a double yellow line. That'll solve it.
So I called the expert service, and it's going to cost me $3,300
to eradicate them, or
to eradicate them, fix it, and make sure they don't come back. Because apparently that's what I did. Once you block the hole, they go nuts.
Because that's where they knew that's where they're.
Yeah, that they know that it's home, and they're going to do whatever they can to get back in.
Did you come out one morning? There was a for sale sign in your front yard.
Well, I told the guy, I said, if I can't shoot animals, but if I had my BB gun here, I would have shot him square in the eyes. And he goes, you can kill them, but they got family. They'll be right back. You'll be back in a vengeance up there. And he showed me a bunch of places up in the attic where they started chewing the electrical wires, where they had been running through the insulation. My internet went out a few weeks ago, and I told you I had to go up and replace the fiber optic cable because that was chewed through. So, man, the damage.
What was that movie? The couple got a divorce, and they started.
Money Pit with Tom Hanks.
No, it was no. They started tearing the house apart because they were fighting over things, and before you know it, the house was just demolished.
Oh, I don't remember.
It's an older one. I can't remember the name of it, but anyway, well, that's exciting.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly
the
impressed.
Saga continues.
Yeah, so now I hate squirrels, tree rats. I want to put an owl box up outside and start getting control of the population in a humane way.
like at Walmart. You ever go to Walmart or Lowe's and the outside they got that recording of a hawk, a speaker that plays, and
Oh,
you need to get a couple to get the whole house surrounded with
oh, I'm
those
sure my neighbors will
hawks
love that.
and at our credit union they've got this is hilarious. They've got this concrete coyote. And when I first pulled up in the parking lot a couple months ago, I saw it. I'm like, shit, there's a coyote at the bank.
How am I
And
getting
I got
in?
back in the car because I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna
Oh,
hit
wait a
this
second.
one.
You're one of those guys who goes in the bank?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't go to the post office anymore. I have to go somewhere.
You gave well, they had a
They
puma out
close.
in front of her.
Well, but they put this statue out there, and these Canada geese are walking right up to it. I'm like, oh, that's not
Oh,
right.
so it was done. It wasn't like a mascot thing or of the
No,
bank. Oh
it's a pest prevention thing. Well, that doesn't work. Once
no.
the one bird figures out it's concrete, they're like
Hey, I don't
roosting
think
on it.
that coyote's moved in 2 days, Sam.
Yeah,
What
he's
do
in the
you
same
think?
spot.
All right, go get Gus and tell him to go check out the
Gus
coyote.
will do anything. So, but
Tell Gus there's bread.
apparently the hawk sound is works.
Huh.
Hang on a second. What would be a predator? Let's ask our friend here.
Oh, will never work, but go for it.
Alexa, what is a pest prevention mechanism for squirrels? Yeah, she doesn't like that one.
According to an Alexa Answers contributor, scents like white pepper, black pepper, and garlic are naturally unpleasant to a squirrel. The same goes for sweet smells such as peppermint. Try spraying your plants and flowers with water and then sprinkling on pepper or peppermint oil to deter squirrels.
Yeah, try
Okay,
that, Alexa.
so you got to
Would
go
that
up
get
there
me?
with the pepper mill. Okay,
Prepare a salad up there.
toss this out on the roof with
I
extra
was climbing
garlic
up.
and pepper mill.
I'm on an extension ladder 20 feet up in the air, spraying peppermint oil and trying to
Your neighbors are
screw in
going to be like, "What the hell are you putting all over the house? It
and
stinks."
flashing. Well, it was Christmas time. I figured it was appropriate to put
Yeah,
the peppermint
some
oil out.
essential oils. Bathe the whole
Yeah.
place in
Well,
essential oils.
the squirrels scoffed at me and went ahead and tore up that corner, that new. So now they have a new corner they've torn into in the house and are inside. So,
Well, it's getting cold in with the heat to escape now.
I just want them out of my house. It's
Well,
just
there is.
crazy.
So is this one of those companies that comes and gets them? Is that what you call them?
Yeah, yeah, they do it in a humane way. One company I called just slices them in half. I said, that's fine.
These
Whatever you
big
want to do.
calipers, they grab them and
Well, no, it's like a giant mousetrap and it's whooshing, and it just,
and do they hold
guillotine.
it so the other ones can see it? This is
Yes. Well, that's what my neighbor said. You need to
hang a couple of
kill
them.
one and hang the carcass up on the roof for the rest of the squirrels.
You need to start making little signs. Who's next? A guillotine, or no,
Oh,
gosh.
this is what happens when you move into this neighborhood.
Make sure that when you go outside that you're talking to yourself all the time. So when your neighbors are walking by, I don't know what's going on with that guy. I'm gonna get you.
Oh, the problem is they're going to go to their house next as soon as I get them out of my house. So,
Shoo.
oh, there's so many. First it was the deer, now it's the squirrel. I'm gaining many enemies here in wildlife.
Well, I say you start shooting the deer, and then that'll start.
Well, I told you about one of my neighbors tried to get
Yeah,
a
but bows and
permit.
arrows, no, that's not gonna work.
Well, how else are you going to do it in a neighborhood? You can't
You
shoot
gotta
a
go
gun.
Rambo. You gotta go Rambo with a big knife.
What do they call those knives?
I don't know. You just come over the back of one of them and just smack him around, and then right in front of all the neighbors, gut
Right.
it, field dress it right in your front yard. That'll get the point across.
For
Take that,
squirrels.
HOA.
First he was killing squirrels, now he's killing deer in the neighborhood. Bowie knife, that's what they call
yeah,
those.
Bowie, whatever. So my son-in-law is a hunter, and for Christmas we got him one of those, those big when they kill a deer, you have to hang it up by its rear legs, and that you field dress it or you dress it with this iron clamp and stuff. So we got him one that sticks in the back of his tailgate, so you can put it in the hitch this thing, and you put the deer on it and winch it up,
and drive it around town,
you can dress it right there in your back of your pickup truck,
or drive it home.
Yeah. Well, when
Finish.
I lived out in West County, in our coffee shop, you'd look out the front window, there'd be like deer stuck on the hood of cars and strapped across the hood. I'm like, it must be hunting season. They're coming back in the morning with the deer.
Oh, that'd be wonderful.
Get a couple squirrels and stick it across the front of your car.
People freak out, over that for no reason. So I personally can't hunt, but I get it. Right. I understand it. And I'm actually jealous of someone that can
squirrel's not bad eating.
That's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I may or may not have had squirrel in my day, but the problem with all those meats is that people marinate them so much that you're tasting marinade at some point. Yeah.
Well, with all the insulation they're eating at your house, I don't know.
Might be a different flavor. Yeah, there's insulation. Now they're eating into the side of the siding, and he is so pissed at me that I covered up that one hole, man. It's just.
I like the angle iron that you're going up there trying to fasten to the ceiling.
I got that. It's in there. I mean, I welded it up. I mean, I did. I was pretty impressed with my work, but so was the squirrel apparently, and it's taking it out on the rest of the house. So
there's a movie to be made, Home Alone with squirrels or something.
Yes, I'm sure me falling down the roof or something.
Yeah, be careful with that. That's where most people get hung up. I saw some guy coming down a ladder, like a video of someone cleaning their gutters out, and they slipped in the ladder and their leg went down in the rung.
Yes, and then you flip upside down.
Oh God!
And it usually snaps your tibia.
Yeah.
My grandfather, he used to go out on the roof to I forget what either clean the windows or something like that. And his idea of safety was tying a rope around his waist and then tying it to the radiator inside the house. My dad's like, he's going to slip and bisect himself one of these days. We're going to see half of Grandpa land in the front.
The radiator is going to come out and hit him in the head on the way down.
So, that or it's going to hold him, and he's going to, the ropes is going to. It was like one of those 1/4-inch nylon ropes. Ding. Yeah, cut him right in half.
All right. Well, we got that going for us.
Yeah, so I will give regular updates on the squirrel situation here.
Now
apparently,
somewhere.
My pain is everyone else's fodder. So maybe I'm going to start a GoFundMe page for this activity. Speaking of which, if we could, you're going to see a little thing come across the screen because I'm timing it these days. Subscribe. We're on YouTube. We Can Help with Dave and Woody. Please subscribe, listen, contribute, do what you can. Feel free to send us an email at daveandwoodypodcast@gmail.com. Should you have any questions about anything, doesn't even have to be personal.
Maybe someone knows how to do the squirrel thing. They could weigh in on some tips.
Please add it in the comments what you've done to get rid of your squirrels. Because
do you like squirrels?
I did until they've cost me a large figure.
I can't share this picture, but
I will on the YouTube one.
No, but our grandkids, they were felling a tree in their yard one day, and they were tiny little guys.
Like what kind of tree were they felling?
A pine tree or something that was rotted out in the side yard. And so they Dad took the tree down, and as it hit the ground, it was hollow in one part, and a whole family of squirrels was ejected out of the tree. Nice. And they ran and got like a clothes hamper or something or a garbage can and scooped them all up. And there's pictures of them holding
the baby squirrels.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Same week they had a fawn walk through their property, a baby deer.
Yeah, and they shot that.
They're standing right next to it.
Well, that's usually dangerous because mom's usually around.
Well, that's what I asked my son-in-law. I said, was the doe nearby? And they said, yeah, it didn't mess with them though. So
that's
of course now the same grandson hunts them, and he's.
I say now he comes up and the deer recognizes him and comes up to him like, "Hey, remember me?" And bam, right between the eyes.
You're looking good.
You just made my life easy.
There you go. Can you see I haven't shaved and it's bugging
When
me now.
school start?
I think it did, and I just missed it.
You forgot to go back.
Oh my god, something doesn't. My
I'm just
phone's
gonna
been
stay
ringing off
home
the
till
hook.
I'm gonna stay home till they call me.
No, I think I go back Friday for a planning day,
You're
and
really
then
not back in school yet.
no, no, we go back. Planning day is Friday, day after tomorrow, and then the kids come back in on Monday. So
Good
I'll be
Lord.
shaved. I'm gonna probably shower tomorrow. I haven't showered in 2 weeks.
I I'm wondering now if our schools are back in.
See, you don't know. Once your kids are out, you're clueless. I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, I'm clueless because of traffic, right? That when traffic picks up, I know school's back in. And now you mentioned, but I didn't leave on time because I met with the professional squirrel catcher this morning, and he was kind enough to show me where he one of his coworkers had to kill the mother squirrel was so aggressive at the house that they had to kill the squirrel. And then when he was cleaning out, they found a baby squirrel in there that hadn't opened its eyes yet. So he's
Oh,
raising the baby squirrel.
oh,
Yeah. And he showed me pictures where he's petting them
sure,
and
yeah,
he's feeding them nuts and all this stuff. And now he sits on his shoulder.
yeah. We have a friend that has a raccoon. They did that with.
We just figure he's trying to drum up business, right? He's
Yeah,
racing this, he's going to release this squirrel on different homes.
yeah, he's got him trained.
Right, to go in and just tear it up, and then it happens to
See you next week, Bob.
he
Okay.
leaves his business card behind. Conveniently, he doesn't chew up the business card. You
Like the
know,
old guy with the radiator company used to hand out ice picks over at the ball games at the Tangerine Bowl. You ever hear about that story?
no.
All right. Well,
Well, what's the
it's
story? Go ahead.
I don't know, apparently there
I'm
was some
dubious, but go
back in the
ahead.
day when everybody had radiators in their
We
cars.
still do.
I know, but people don't replace them like they used to. So not
Well, they're
a,
built better. Yes.
I don't know. I don't know what to do to get to one. But anyway, the story goes that the guy was handing out ice picks and to go stab radiators. I don't know.
Wait a
Long time
second.
ago.
Yeah, there's no that's a horrible story. Why would he
I didn't
hand
do it. I'm just
why
saying.
why would someone go, hey, someone gave me an ice pick, let me go stab some radiators? That's the natural progression when you
Well,
get a
yeah,
free ice pick.
small business got to start somewhere. All right, let's get moving. All right,
Yeah,
so we're back
please.
from Christmas break and New Year's. Do you got any? You got any? I almost said exfoliating. You got any? That doesn't make any sense. Have
No.
you taken your tree down yet?
No, that is this weekend. My wife does all the decorating and everything. My only job is to,
Squirrels.
yeah, well, that's been my whole Christmas. Um, my sole job is to put the tree up and to take the tree down.
Do you fluff? Do you fluff the tree? Are
Oh,
you
flood the tree. Yes.
are you the fluffer? Because that's my job. I think it's a man thing.
What's you talking
Shape it.
about?
Shape it. Is it a real? Do you have a real tree?
Yeah, well, I told you we go out and cut
Oh,
our own tree down every year.
maybe that's what the squirrels are pissed off. You
You
cut
know,
down their
coming
tree.
in, yeah.
Yes.
Maybe I brought him in with this with the damn tree. Who knows? But no, what do you mean shape the tree?
So my dad, I didn't realize this was such a big thing for me, but the only time I spent with my father when I was a little kid was
And you're 30 years with your dad.
was at Christmas time. No, but we had this tradition at Christmas time. We had artificial trees, and he would get it out of the box. Of course, he being
Yeah.
an engineer, he was very good at getting it back in the box. You have to straighten all the limbs out. But then when it comes out, you got this stick thing, you got to
Yes.
reshape it. And so his job,
Unbend the metal and everything,
yeah.
right? Yeah,
And
yeah.
so he would get the picture of the tree up and go, okay, I see how this one goes. And his job was to sit there on this little stool and I was to spin the tree. We didn't have lights
Oh,
on it yet. And I would spin and he would shape this whole series of branches, then spin it, and he would do this series of branches. And that's how we spent time together in between all the drinking. No.
yeah, I was gonna say, so once a year you got to spend 40
And I'm
minutes
like,
with
who
him
are you again?
spinning a tree.
I'm your
He's
dad.
like,
Wow.
honey, where's that kid that spins a tree
He's
for
such a
us
good
every
spinner.
year?
You know what? I should make fun of this. You know what today is?
January 3rd. Oh, it's
Today,
not a birthday or something, is it?
no, it's not a birthday, but today's the day he died.
Oh, Lord, that was a tough Christmas for you then.
Well, no, not really.
Yeah, we celebrate still. Yeah.
No, hold on. My brother sends me this message today, and I don't. You have both your parents?
Yes, fortunately.
Well, that may change one day, but
Well, I certainly hope if progression works correctly, yes, they will pass before me.
anyway, so he died on today, in 2006. Wow. How long ago was that? 2024. I can't do the big math.
Ask Alexa.
18 years ago. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so he passed 18 years ago, and my mother passed February 20th in 2010. So my dad was born in March 20 something of 24. So this year, I don't like those push you see on things on Facebook where they're like, "Oh, happy birthday," and
Yeah. If
whatever.
well, Google does it with the what do they call that drawing? They'll celebrate someone's 125th birthday if they were alive.
Yeah. Well, so he would be 100 this year. Um,
A
so
centurion, right? Isn't that what they call them?
yeah, octogenarian. That's
No,
80.
that's just old, I think.
That's 80 something. Anyway, so today's the day he passed. So back to this fluffing story. We didn't. I don't know fluffing. That was the thing that I did
Your
with him.
dad was a fluffer.
He was in the adult film industry. That's terrible. That's terrible. On the day he died, what a inconsiderate.
Oh, I love that Dave's having fun.
Um. Anyway, so that was time we spent together, amongst other times at Christmas time, and so after he passed, it didn't dawn on me this was so important to me. But my wife, we had a Christmas, and up until a certain time, I was the one always doing it anyway. But then one year, the girls put the tree up, unbeknownst to me. And
Oh,
I came home and the tree was up, and there was
dang.
this emotional craziness that came over me, like, how dare you? This is what I do. This is my job.
Right.
And so I had to deal with that. There was
This was after your father passed. Oh,
no
okay. Well, that would be make it even more emotional,
no
right?
18 years ago. It might have been after he passed. 18 years ago that I had this. I don't know. It was right in that wheelhouse that I
Yeah.
wasn't around him. Um, but it
Luckily for
became.
me, I don't have any of those kind of memories with my father. So
Well, I was telling my brother, he
I'm
sent me a
kidding,
message.
but go ahead.
I hope you do. Well, I was telling my brother, I don't want to make this a Debbie Downer, but the thing I miss about not having my
You're about 5 minutes too late. But
well,
go
the thing
ahead.
I miss about not having my father is, of course, I'm 60 years old, so those who still have their dads at this
Yeah.
age, God bless you. But I wish sometimes I could pick up the phone and share a dad moment, a fellow dad moment,
Right.
and have a sounding board. I've got other friends I can call up and talk about these sort of things. My brother even
Again, I
sometimes.
never get these phone calls from you, Dave. That's 2 weeks in a row now. But go ahead, keep going.
Well, my suggestion to you though is, as soon as we're done with this call, hang up and then call your dad and let him know that you were thinking about him, or at least Dave was thinking about him.
Well, actually, I'll be calling him in 4 days. So
Is that his birthday?
yes, and I will say it's the funniest thing. Even he is at the ripe age of 82, 83, or be turning 83, and
Right.
he still gets pissed off if you send his birthday and Christmas gift in
Yeah,
the
you told me that.
same package. God damn it! He gets all
You have to
upset
give
when
me
he
his mailing
opens.
address. I'm going to do that. But
He's like, well, who's this Dave guy? Why the hell he send both my gifts?
yeah. So I don't know. It's a weird space to lose your
Do
parents.
you make your daughter spend a tree for you?
No, it's not that big a deal now. I mean, I think it was just one of those
You
moments
still a
where you.
fake tree guy though?
Yeah. So what we started doing is buying a fake. We have a fake tree. We have three fake trees. Apparently, they're not.
Three.
They're all different sizes. They go in. One goes in the kitchen. One goes on the dining room table,
Oh Lord.
and then the big one. But then we buy a real one for either the front yard or the back porch, depending on what we're doing. That's something we started doing not too long ago, and that's kind of a fun tradition. I just
Do you
can't stand
plant it
having
in
a.
the front yard?
No, I get the bucket and the tree
Okay.
stand and
What kind
um
of tree you go with? Fraser fir?
yeah, I think they're all Frasers. I mean, whatever we can get down here, they all come out of Western
We go
North
with
Carolina.
the Leland cypress.
We did a cypress one time. I just didn't like that it was limp. It's wimpy.
Yeah, it's hard to hang ornaments on it, but you know what? It stays green the entire time.
Yeah, and that's important if they're inside with all the needles that drop and
Well, they still drop needles, but it stays green. So,
all right, well that's
but our
something.
tree is as dry as a arid desert right now. So it's coming down this weekend.
Well, imagine back in the day, instead of having electric lights, they hung candles on those
Yeah.
things. And have you ever lit a Christmas tree up in the outside?
Oh, they go up fast, man.
Holy cow, it's like gasoline. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
There was one of
incredible.
those guys on what's that show? Sharks, whatever. What's the with Mark Cuban and the investors?
Shark Tank.
Shark Tank. Thank you. I knew it was Shark something, but yeah, a guy was selling a Christmas tree stand that basically senses the fire and could put the tree out real quick. The problem was it was insanely expensive. So I see it out there occasionally still, but to no, great degree.
There was on a stupid post, one of my friends or friends of a friend that posted they were taking their tree down and they live out in the country and they had a fire pit and all the kids were gathered around. Dad's gonna light, put the tree. I'm like, come on, man, don't do something stupid. And sure
Yeah.
enough, they got the tree in the bucket. The fire's going. All the kids, you could see them circling around, and then he dropped it.
Oh, he
And
dropped it into an existing fire.
yeah, and then
Oh,
the kids are, and then the tree fell over,
right.
and by this time it's like 60 feet in the air, flames that are coming off this thing. I don't know how those people survived. Apparently, is it Longfellow's wife that died by a Christmas tree that caught her on fire? Wadsworth, what's his
Who?
name? The
Oh,
the poet.
yeah. First of all, you named
Okay,
someone
hold
who
on.
writes for a living.
Alexa, which American poet wrote The Cross?
Sorry, I don't have an answer for that.
Yeah. Dave's lying.
Alexa, did Longfellow write The Cross?
Here's something I found on reference.com. The poignant poem Cross of Snow is an expression of writer Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's personal pain over the tragedy of his wife's death. The theme relates the view of a cross carved into the side of a mountain to the long burden of his grief.
Well, that's deep.
Alexa, how did Henry Wadsworth Longfellow's wife die?
From pw.org. Fanny Longfellow, wife of poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, tragically perished in 1861 when her dress caught on fire.
Crinlin.
So, yeah, so it wasn't a Christmas tree.
Well, maybe not, but she had a candlelight and it was a crinolin dress. I was there. And,
Oh, I didn't realize this. Sorry for your pain and your loss, Dave.
Well, we were neighbors. She made great biscuits. And apparently she caught the dress on fire and she died ablaze. And then Longfellow wrote this, the Snowy Cross, was what it's called, the Cross of Snow.
So he profited from his wife's tragic
No, those guys
death.
never sold anything. Read the poem sometime. It's incredible. I only know that because 1 year out of 2, I taught I was out.
That was I was sitting here debating why Dave Theus knows all this.
So I was out in West County, we'll call it, way out, long time ago, 20 years ago, and I was in between careers, and I decided I was going to be a teacher, but I was a football coach first, in one of these very small communities that football is everything. And so I got the job coaching football, and then they said, "Do you want to be a teacher?" And I said, "Yeah, sure. Got a degree."
What do you know?
Well, the guy goes, "How do you feel about geometry?" And I said, "Well, I think I remember taking it in 10th grade." He goes, "Well, you're our geometry teacher." So I taught, because they had a teacher that pulled a guy out of I think he was buying drugs or something. I don't know what he was doing. I mean,
They had to get him out of
it.
jail. Yeah.
So I was a geometry teacher, and so I went to the principal that year and said, "Listen, I appreciate the opportunity, but I don't know if I'm doing these kids any favors. He goes, "That's okay because we got a geometry teacher. You're in good shape." He goes, "How do you feel about American and English literature?"
Oh, that's my go-to.
And I'm like, "I love reading and I love writing." He goes, "Well, you're my English literature teacher for seniors." And I'm like,
Oh, for
"Okay,
seniors in high school?
yeah." So we read. I had to brush up on American and English literature.
You were learning as along with the kids. Is what you're saying.
Well, but it was fascinating. I mean, there's something that I retained this Longfellow thing. There's a joke about Longfellow. He was, but
That was my nickname in high school.
yeah, I told that one, and that was like on my exit interview. No, we're not going to bring you back for that, Mr. Theus. Anyway,
Oh.
so I don't know how we got up on this, but Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you. I hope that been
Hey,
a good show.
yeah. What?
No,
Oh.
anyway.
Hey, I got a fun fact for you.
Okay.
Do you have in your neighborhood, do you have those speed humps? Not speed bumps, but speed humps?
I have seen the speed humps. We don't have any in our neighborhood. It's
What?
actually got the sign that says speed hump,
Yes.
but it's a very fat speed bump.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an elongated speed bump, so you don't have that jolt, right? You're it's kind of like going over a small knoll in
A
the
mogul.
road, right? And have you noticed that they always put gaps in them? There's
For
usually
drainage?
three gaps in them. Well, I'm getting there. Slow down
Or is
there,
that the
Dave.
oil pan
Slow
nut that
down.
break off?
Yeah, that's where you leave your car parts.
Okay, go ahead.
So the guy, whilst I was outside, planning my squirrel stuff, a neighbor
Squirrel
dropped
hunting.
yes, my neighbor dropped by and said, "Hey, you want to sign a petition? We're trying to get a speed hump added up front." We already have 3 or 4 in the neighborhood. And if any neighbors are listening, I hate them with a passion. It's like, just stop the people speeding. How about that? We don't have to put in these speed humps every 10 feet and try to circumnavigate them as we drive out of the neighborhood. I just can't stand them. And so I told I told my wife, I said I didn't want to be the neighbor who said, no, children's safety is not my priority, kind of thing.
Your kids, you can't control them.
My kids
I'm
are
not
older now.
responsible.
My kids are driving. I don't need them to
Keep
slow
them out
down.
of the road. Simple.
Right. So I said, so I begrudgingly signed the thing. But he mentioned something. He told me why they have the holes between. I always thought it was to save asphalt, right? Why put a hump all the way across the road if you can just do 3?
Cut a couple inches and save a buck.
Hey, here's a couple pounds of asphalt that don't need to be put down and rode out. But so your
Drainage.
and I would think that could possibly be an aspect of it, but they don't ever put the hump in the gutters. So the gutter should take care of the drainage, right? No, it is for emergency crews, fire trucks and ambulances. Their wheelbase will fit between the two grooves that are in there, because there's always 3 speed humps. They section in 3 pieces. And the middle 2 grooves are so a fire truck or an ambulance can cruise through without hitting the speed hump.
So those guys are navigating their wheelbase.
Yes, to fit right down the center of
Is it wide enough to put a twin screw through the back of it? Like a dually in the back?
Well, I'm thinking there must be all diesels of that magnitude, because that's what I got talking to him about. He goes, because he said, "Oh, by the way, it'll be EMT safe." I said, "What?" Like, what does that mean? And he explained that their wheelbase fits right through the 2 grooves in the speed humps.
That sounds like a tripping hazard.
Well, usually what I use this for is I put one side of my car or the other in that groove, so only one side of my car goes over the speed hump. Or in the case of one of the speed bumps, I can actually go over into the gutter and not hit the speed hump at all. My small wheelbase fits over to the side, and my mirror comes within like an inch of the sign, like you said, the pole for the sign that says speed hump on it. So
why don't you just go all Starsky and Hutch and launch over them?
Sometimes I feel like it, man, because you're driving home and you forget. that there's, speed. So you're doing it, a good, 30, 35 miles an hour.
That's
and you
why
hit
they're
those.
there. People like you. We spend all that
Well, it's
money on
not.
sidewalks. Get the kids out of the street.
I'm like, what's your kid doing in the street? Yeah, exactly. So
I don't know. I don't.
it's one of those things. It's not needed, but I'm sure there's insurance, and for businesses, I'm sure there's insurance savings to be had by putting those up in your parking lot and to keep the speed down.
We
Right.
have them. This is a horrible story. I don't know. I do not want to make fun of this.
Yeah, well, Dave is good at bringing good, heartwarming stories to the table tonight.
I wasn't there. Apparently, early on in my school's history, there's a parking lot where we neighbor our elementary school just down the parking. We share a big parking lot. And as you can remember, maybe dropping your kids off and picking them up, there's this like Mr. Mom moment where there's a one way in and they have to follow the traffic pattern and they have to
Yeah.
swing back around to get out. Well, apparently there was a woman, a female teacher that was exiting the parking lot to the sidewalk, and a fella bumped her. Um, the way the story goes, she made eye contact.
Accidentally bumped her.
Well, he wasn't paying attention,
Right.
and she was a pedestrian and knocked her down, and she died. She hit her head on the pavement, and so they went out and installed all these speed bumps. Well, they're starting to replace them now, but they've got to be at least 15 years old. So they were the original, but now they bought those. There's some sort of plastic or something. They're yellow and they start to deteriorate. So now you've got this piece of rebar sticking out of the concrete, which is the screw that was pounded into to secure the speed bump, and it's worn off and curled up. And
right.
And if you're not aware of it, I'm sure there's people driving over the damn things and they're puncturing their tires and stuff.
Either that or someone trips over the speed bump and punctures their skull on the exposed rebar.
Yeah, I just, by no means, again, I'm not making any light of the story that happened. It must have been horrendous to have been a witness to it. But I just don't understand. I've had it where I've walked across the parking lot and, you kind of judge your distance. There's certain times, I don't know what the distance is, but that space that you're in where you feel like you make eye contact.
Yeah.
And the guy's not going to hit you. He's far enough away and I have enough time to navigate if I have to. Well, I had that crossing one day where I thought I made eye contact with this guy and it was far enough away. Well, I cautiously started to keep walking. Well, lo and behold, he never saw me.
Oh.
And by the time the angle of pursuit, he was right at me. I was at the driver's side window looking right at him when, up against the window.
Like 2 inches away.
I knocked on his window and I'm like, what gives, dude? I'm standing right here. And he had this bottom jaw extended.
Right.
He was comatose. It was 8:30 in the morning, dropping his kid off at the elementary school. And he was.
Well, thanks for you. He has to now return home to change his underwear.
Well, there was a split moment where I'm thinking to myself, okay, Theus, the kids are going to see you eradicate this guy from the car through his window. Not going to be a good idea.
Something out of a Rambo
Extricate,
movie, right? Yeah, where you reach through you break through the glass, grab him by and pull him. Meanwhile, the car still goes down and runs over the line of school children waiting to go into the class.
Well, like that Toby Keith song, "I'm not as good as I once was." I have to kind of remind myself, you're 60, Dave. You're no way in shape that you ever were before. But so I mustered control and said, okay, well, go ahead before you hit me. So it happens. People, I don't know if the speed bump helped.
Well, no one's doing it on purpose. I just really don't see. I just don't think a speed bump makes that big a difference.
Well, listen to what you've said. You've already figured out a way to go around it,
right?
To some level, or
I totally forget about it, or
you speed over it. Yeah,
right. Yeah, and I've probably only maybe hit 2 or 3 kids so far.
Have you? Have you seen those things?
You think how many times I've come through the neighborhood? You think about it, the odds are pretty slim I'll hit you at this point.
I almost hit a golf cart the other night. Do y'all have golf carts in your neighborhood?
There's another tragic story about that.
I'm coming down a main road the other night. It's pitch black outside, and we're at a light crossing. I'm taking a right turn, And I don't know how I saw him at the last minute, but they had a headlight on it, I guess, but it was nothing compared to what it should
No.
have been. And they're crossing the road in the walkway. And there's a big scuttlebutt going on right now. They just passed a law in Florida that you have to be, I think, 16 years old or 18 to
Well, they're
drive one.
everywhere now. The golf carts are.
So
Yeah.
he's in front of me. I can't see him. But
No.
by the
There's
grace
no
of
side
God,
lighting or anything on them.
yeah, by the grace of God, I stopped, turning right, thinking maybe there's something going to be there. And he starts to cuss me out. And I'm like, dude, you may have the right of way.
I don't
but
think
I
they
can't
do.
see you. I
Yeah.
don't think they do either.
No.
So I don't know who would have been at fault. If I'd have careened into him, I'd have probably been going to jail. So
Probably a 50-50 thing where they just split it down the middle.
that's
So,
good. I got to kill
Well,
a
I mean,
member of my
when there's
family
no
if I killed one of his. Is that
yeah,
like,
it's
like the Middle East?
when there's no fault, the insurance says it's 50-50, right?
I don't know.
And they have a rule here in North Carolina, even if it's 1% your fault and 99% the others, it's still 50-50.
Well, we have no fault, but I think when you kill someone in vehicular manslaughter, that's a problem.
Well, let me know. Let me know how that
Yeah, I'll
works
get back
out.
to you on that.
Yeah, if you would.
All right, let's get out of this negativity stuff we're around.
Well, yeah, and we need to close up because it's clock winding night here in the Woody household.
Clock with an L, right?
yes. I had to spell that in my head without an L. Huh? What? Oh, yeah, I get
Make
you.
sure that the audio picks that up correctly.
Yes.
I want to be branded for
No,
that.
certainly it's clock.
Is that counterclockwise or?
Yeah, well, it depends on what time you want time to go.
Depends on what kind of music's playing, Dave. All right. Well, do we want to talk about? I had one funny story about the kid, and then
go ahead. We got a couple minutes,
and then I have a stock update. Do we care to approach that?
Mm-hmm.
I can make it quick.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Well, let me tell you the funny story about the kid. So, and I think this is a testament of the future of our nation, where we're headed. But it's Christmas break, of course. We've discussed that. I haven't shaved in a couple weeks, and so I'm smoking as many cigars as I can possible. And it's cool. So you have to get them early in the day, midday while it's warm. So I'm sitting out on my driveway having a cigar like I normally do. And this kid, he's on a new toy. It's Christmas, right? So he's got himself one of those electric scooters, like a
Man, I would have killed to have one of those as a kid.
Remember, it was like a Razor when my kids were young.
I didn't even get Razor.
Well, they had a Razor, but now they make a Razor that's electrified or electric powered. It doesn't shock you when you ride.
Or kids are getting shocked. That'll teach you to exercise.
So he's got a helmet on. And by the way, I posted a picture of this on X, I don't know where our thing is. We can help Dave and Woody Pod on X.
I'll put it up. It'll be up on the top of the screen here at some point.
It's not the kid. I picked a picture off the internet. It's actually associated with that particular scooter the kid's riding on. But it's not the actual kids. So don't anybody accuse me of being weird.
Well, I thought, when I saw it today, I thought you were being a little pervy, taking pictures of the neighborhood kids and posting it.
That would be inappropriate. Yeah. So anyway, he's got a helmet. The kid's got a helmet on in real life, and he's walking. We have somewhat of an incline in front of our place, and he's walking uphill. And I'm thinking, okay, he's going to go up there and then turn around and ride it back down. But then it dawns on me, this is one of those electric things. I said, hey, buddy, why aren't you riding it? And he goes, well, the charge is dead, and it needs to be charged. And I'm like, well, does it roll? And he goes, oh yeah, I'm just pushing it up the hill. I'm just walking alongside it. And I'm like, back in the day when we had those things, we put one foot on it and we pumped it with our other foot
and pushed it up the hill.
And he goes, you can do that? And I'm like, oh God. And I decided just not to say any more because I felt like I don't know what I was capable of.
Well, he gets home and he goes, old man Theus. He was rattling off.
Well, how dare just put it on charge, Mom, so I can write this. So I think we're in trouble. I think we've got a generation of kids that the Chinese have made us so soft and thinking that we have to have electric charged scooters that we can't mobilize ourselves.
You don't think our parents at our age had the same discussion about us, that we were ruined?
Skateboards and
but we had the new wheels. We didn't have the metal wheels. We had those nylon wheels that made it a lot softer and easier with springs. And
what was that the ply wheels they had that would get squares. They had to roll around for the first couple
Right.
moments.
Yeah.
Like that,
Until they get rounded off the
What was that
corners.
called? Radials. We had
Oh,
to do radials, and they worked on 2 plies. No, I just think we've got a lot of soft kids coming up here soon. So I said, no, you push it, you get on it, you put, and I just stop. I said, forget it, get out of here, kid. You're bugging me.
you're out there and then you step on it and break it. Well, take your broken scooter and get out of here.
Yeah, I wasn't going to show him how to do it. I was like, at this point, we're done. We're as the leading nation, we're done.
Oh,
all right. So that's that. That was my moment of zen in the front yard.
yeah.
To put that up on the googly on the YouTube.
Oh, the picture.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Okay.
All right. So the other thing is we started this conversation last couple episodes ago about my stock game.
Stock tips.
Stock tips. And I wanted to give you an update. By the way, the market, it just pooped today. I think Warren Buffett sold a bunch of stuff to cash. And I don't want to give him any more credit than he thinks he deserves, but
He's done okay.
Yeah, he's all right. But the economy, the Fed is screwing around, and we won't get into an economics lesson, but the Fed is messing around with the rates, and people can't figure out whether they want to stay in treasuries and earn 5% or they want to take a dip in their toes in the market and try there. So it take a dump today because the Fed said they may not raise rates again or actually lower them. So I wanted to recap. You put out there that I was going to blow this thing up and earn 40%. And I said
I didn't say that.
Well, I said it, and I want to make sure that I'm taking credit for it.
I simply repeated it.
I wanted to clarify in case somebody, by all means, please know this. This is by no means a recommendation on our part. Future results are not representative of past results. You know the drill. This is not a tips. This is just Dave having some fun with $2,000. And it's turned out to be quite a lot of fun. But having said all that, I got my first statement from the end of the year, and I was looking forward to that because I wanted to see it would be a tabulation of the end of the year. So let me just give you that first. I started in September. And
first, start with your Social Security number, if you would.
Yeah, no problem. So I started in September, and we allocated $2,000 to the bucket. And if you remember, I told you Fidelity put a kicker in for $100. So I had $2,100 invested. And at the end of this period, 12/31/2023, with some interest from the 5% cash that we earned, this period started with $2,117.38. The ending value at the end of 12/31/23 was $2,865.68, which represents a $748
$648.
No, well, I know what you're going to say, but let me just do this because this is what Fidelity's telling me. This is what the statement says. What he's saying is I got $100 free from Fidelity, but the reality is it was $2,800 minus $2,100 is $748. That's what the statement says.
Well, that's what new math gives us.
Oh, it's that core math. But anyway, so that works out to be a 35.34% return. Then if you take it off the Woody's 2,100, it's 2,865 minus the 2,100 invested for $765.68 return divided by the 2,100 gives us 36.46% return. So in that,
a good return.
From September to December, I earned 30, we'll call it 36% return, 35% return. Now, currently the portfolio after 3 days in January is at negative 5.44% return.
Well, the market's been open, 2 days?
So. Yeah, and it just got clobbered today. And I'm at a cash position of, a portfolio position of $2,702 versus closing December at $2,865. So we're down a little bit. Now here's the thing I wanted to make sure, and this may be how we can help somebody. I don't know. I had a fly run by.
A fly ran by? Wow.
Yeah, I think
little best. He's got fast legs.
Anyway, so my philosophy is buy and hold. And I said that last time we spoke about this. And so I started to feel like I was going to become a timer, but what happened is in Fidelity's statement, I've made a decision that I'm going to buy 200 shares at a time. You have to buy whole lots, so 100 shares at a time. So I'm going to buy a company, and I'm buying shares that are anywhere from $1.30 a share up to, I think one of them recently was $5 a share or something like that.
Well, they have the
Um,
greatest potential to.
well, they're small cap companies.
Right.
They're small depth micro cap. Some people may call them. They're not pink sheets. They're on the New York Stock Exchange or Nasdaq, and so they're not on foreign exchanges or over the
Yeah, and
counter.
I only buy green sheets.
Yeah. So I wanted to make sure we had that set up, and then I buy 200 shares at a time, because what I've learned in this spectrum, if I had 1,500 shares of one, and then I panicked because can I unload 15 shares at a time? Probably could, but it's easier to unload 200 shares than it is the other way around. And so here's what I've determined. I've got a pretty diversified little portfolio now. I'm holding about 1,500 shares of stock, and um, I'm watching it. And as they climb to 7, 8, 9% growth, they become something I want to watch. And now I made a screw up on, I think the second day the market was open yesterday, the day before yesterday. And I had one sitting at 12% return. And I had that gambling greedy moment. And I said, 12%, maybe I can get 13 or 14%. Let's just see what it does. Well, like timers experience all the time, and this is why I'm not a timer. Within an hour, it dropped off to like 9%. And then yesterday it opened and went down to 7%. And now I'm sitting at 5%. So I'm still up,
Yeah.
but it's at 5%. And I lost a 12% swing. And here's the catch. If I'd sold that stock at 12% return, I would have gone to cash. And in the cash bucket, in the mutual fund that the funds go to when you're in cash, it's currently paying 5%. So if you want to have some fun with it, right now, I haven't realized any gains or losses, but I'm sitting at approximately 5% return on paper. I'm not making any money because it's sitting in the stock. I could have
Right.
sold it at 12% and cashed, positioned to cash, and it would be earning 5 right now. But I didn't do that because I had a moment of greed, and I said, okay.
You were thinking, oh, Woody's going to make fun of me for only making 12% return instead of the 40 I promised.
Well, I mean, I went back and told you that this is annualized. So if I only take 12%, I do that 5, 6 times during the course of the year, we're going to meet our number.
Right.
The point of this story, and I'll leave it at this for today so we don't get too far in the weeds, is I am a buy and hold philosophy, but I'm watching these things age up. And when I say age up, they're experiencing some movement and some growth. And I'm making a call sign now amongst myself. When we get to 10%, if I open the fund and it's sitting at 12, I'm selling it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll sell it and go to cash. And then it takes 3 days to clear. That's how it works in the stock market. So it takes 3 days to clear. And then that 3 days time, I'll have, let's say, $1,000, $1,500 sitting around waiting to clear. I'll do some more research on another stock. So when it does clear, I'll reinvest and purchase again. And it's this aging in space that's happening, and it's fun. It's like playing.
Well, it's fun because you're making money at the moment.
Well, and it's okay because right now the market's down, and I'm buy and hold anyway. So I'm still a buy and hold guy. It's just I'm going to realize the upswings and not sit around. I don't think I can get a portfolio to 40%. I feel very confident that I cannot manage my portfolio to sit at 40% return. But what I'm trying to do is realize these movers that are and take them when don't get greedy, take them at 10, 12%, and then reinvest. So that's the little test that I'm having.
All right.
So,
well, I'm not going to ask you too many questions tonight because we are past our time and my clocks are about to stop. So
yeah, well, you got to get winded.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. That's what I wanted to button that up, and then wish everybody obviously a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Do you have any closing thoughts that we can get out with?
No.
Okay.
I'm not thinking at all at this point.
I will listen to this episode, get a name, and post it up to the Spotify. You can listen to us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, except for Apple Play. We're not on the Apple because they're communists, basically.
And it'll be on YouTube on Sunday.
Oh, and we're running ads.
Yeah.
So
Making money.
Well, we're not making any money. Don't
What?
say that. No.
I quit my job today.
Well, good luck.
Oh, no.
And then of course on YouTube, please subscribe. It does cost you absolutely nothing. And
yeah, it's free.
Yeah, I mean, well, you really got nothing else better to do. I mean, let's be honest
come on.
with each other.
What are you going to do?
Just
Football's almost over.
All right, that's all I've got. I'm Dave.
I'm Woody.
And you've again listened to an amazing episode, the first episode back in 2024, mind you, of We Can Help with Dave and Woody.